Music Not Diving is brought to you by Acid Nation. What is Acid Nation? Well, it is a direct-to-consumer platform, previously known as AC55ID.com. It is the fastest growing electronic music marketplace. So if you're looking to sell direct to your fans as a label or an artist, this is a great solution for you. And if you're a music fan yourself, looking to support your favorite labels or favorite artists, well, this is a great place for you to be spending your time and your money. What is the difference between Acid Nation and other D2C platforms? Well, one big one is that they have their own pressing plant and they can fulfill vinyl orders direct from fans and ship them back to fans. Pretty amazing, right? Because they have their own fulfillment service to go with the pressing plant. They can do all of that stuff for you. You don't have to lift a finger, in fact, to do any of it. And what's more, they have free storage for all of your stock, all of your vinyl, all of your merch, all that kind of stuff. They deal with it all and they don't charge you anything to keep it around either. Pretty great, right? Another great thing is streaming. Most DC platforms don't pay for streaming, but Acid Nation pays 1 cent per stream. Really great and a kind of mythical thing in the industry. Amazing that they're doing it on acidnation.com. They're also supporting Music Not Diving, of course. Another great feather in their cap, I guess. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Head over to acidnation.com to check them out.
They're too worried about a career before they hone their craft.
Okay.
Be good and then go out and do your thing. But don't expect certain things to happen for you without putting in the work. They think if I do this content and, I have a certain amount of followers, that's all. I'm mission accomplished.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm there. I'm the guy. I'm the lady. You might be for a while and then you won't be. I feel that if your career hinges on one single thing, you're in trouble.
This is Music Not Diving with Scuba.
Welcome to the show. I'm Scuba. This is Music Not Diving. Okay, we're talking Detroit Techno on the show this week with someone who's actually from Detroit. DJ Bone was a guest on our previous incarnation, the Not a Diving podcast. That was an audio-only show and usually a little bit more of a longer form thing than Music Not Diving. Over 2 hours, I think, was the conversation I had with Bone on that incarnation of the show. And we were talking mostly about coming out of the pandemic. It was about 3 years ago now. He did a lot of really interesting stuff during the pandemic in his adopted home of Amsterdam. And he's been continuing to do really interesting stuff since with his nights, his label, mentorship stuff. He's released an album recently called The End of Never. And he's just a really interesting bloke, basically, who knows everything there is to know about techno and has opinions on it as well. So just a great person to talk to. And this is a great conversation to follow up that last one that we did, like I said, about 3 years ago. So just before we get into it, like this video and subscribe to the channel. I never say this, but honestly, it really helps. So do that. And then let's get over to the studio and check out my conversation with DJ Bone.
Brought to you by acidnation.com.
DJ Bone, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Yeah, although this is the first time we've done it in person, last time we was on the phone. Yeah, I was like, I think it was nearly 3 years ago actually, because you were relatively early on in the stage, and we were talking about coming out of the pandemic actually. Around that. How do you look back at that period now?
Pandemic was weird for me because it wasn't as horrific for me and my wife because luckily we had moved house because we're in the Netherlands now. And we had moved house into a more rural area. So I'd say January, was the move, I think. And when the lockdown started or when they finally started to recognize that there was a pandemic, I noticed because my wife was in LA and I'm in the countryside in Amsterdam. And I was like, well, I look across and I'm on a canal and across the canal is like a dairy farm.
Right.
And then our next door neighbor is pretty far away and she's a well-known pop star in the Netherlands.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, this isn't bad, And then my wife finally got back from the States and we just enjoyed riding our bikes and cooking and hanging out at the house and you name it. So for us, it was different because it wasn't very hectic. Thank goodness. And living in the Netherlands, because we have temporary residence there.
Yep.
The government was really good to the citizens. They took care of everybody. So you didn't really have to worry too much. I mean, there was some strict lockdown situation. So socially, it had to be super awkward for people. That's why I started doing the sit down further. But as far as the pandemic goes, we we enjoyed it. It was like a timeout. I didn't travel.
Yeah.
And that alone was a huge break to not have to fly somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I didn't mind not flying.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And yeah, you mentioned the sit down party. So just for people who are not aware of that, just recap on that, because I mean that was pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, the sit down further, we started because we were getting word from a lot of people how they felt really shut in, and the real estate in Amsterdam is tight.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's the same here. It's people on top of people.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Next to people, around the corner from people. So you smell everybody else's food. You hear their TV, you know. Yeah. So people were getting a little stir crazy. So we came up with the idea to do an event and follow the guidelines allowed with the social distancing and no dancing or, you know. And we spoke to a club, Radion, about the idea, and they agreed to do it because they weren't even open. They were having difficulty, you know, with the pandemic, and they would keep the cafe open, but they have to do like basically carry out only, you know, for food. And so we were able to set up in the main room, and they set it up perfectly. It was socially distanced. There were couches, there were bean bags. I mean, it's a room that can hold 750, 800 people, and it was fit and situated for 75 people. To be, you know, compliant. Yeah. So we did like 2 shows. Was it 2 or 3? 2 shows a night. And what I did is I figured I would pick a topic, like say Detroit Techno, and then I would pick my favorite like 15 tracks on the topic and play each track individually and speak about it. So we had the audience there. I would sit on the stage behind the decks, which were lowered. So I wasn't even standing. Yeah. And we had our guy, Lawrence, do visuals, did an amazing job. And they would show visuals behind me for each track. And then after I spoke about each track and what it means to me or Detroit or, you know, the topic.
How long would you speak for?
That part would go on for like maybe half an hour, I think.
Okay.
And we called it like the Professor Bone time. Yeah. Okay. The lecture or the professor. And then after that, I would do a set, on the topic. So I would just play like half hour, of that. So I did Detroit Techno, like Chicago House, Broken Beats, UK Techno. I did one, that was all Ben Sims.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I did, all You Are. I did a special one that was Prince, all Prince.
Nice.
One was disco and on, you know.
Let me ask you, what Prince tracks did you play? What did you focus on a specific period, or was it the entirety of the?
It was the entirety. It was difficult to pick.
Well, yeah, no doubt.
And I just was picking my favorites. I was so biased, you know, and I was telling stories about Prince and how he come to Detroit and the first time he got on the radio to do an interview with Mojo.
Okay, I would like to hear those stories. Like, give me a Prince in Detroit story.
He came to Detroit, had a concert, and after the concert, he was in the hotel, and he actually called into the radio station because there's a DJ there. His name was Electrify Mojo, and everybody in Detroit grew up on him back in the 80s. And he was unique because he was the first DJ in the country to have an open format, free format. So he could play whatever he wanted to, you know. And he would play like Parliament Funkadelic, B-52s, Jay Giles Band, Kraftwerk. So all these Detroit people in, you know, inner city Detroit were listening to Rock Lobster and listening to Pet Shop Boys and Eurythmics. And it was so cool because that's probably the only way we were ever going to hear these tracks. You know, nobody's traveling, going to Europe, or nobody's going to certain clubs and Prince called into the station and Mojo did a quick interview with him. And Prince was so excited because he used to play a lot of Prince songs and hype it up. And he told him, he said, from now on, I'm going to start my concerts in Detroit, my tours. It's like my second home. And then he started to send Mojo advanced copies of his album. Nice. And he would instruct him to tell everyone, like, in about 30 minutes, I'm going to play a new Prince album. get your cassette decks ready. Okay. So everybody in Detroit basically got a free copy of a Prince album before it came out that you could listen to.
Yeah.
You know, it was crazy. It was just, those times were phenomenal.
Right.
And he would send them like long versions that we'd never heard.
Well, sorry, what era were we in of Prince here? What year roughly? Was this like
1999?
Yeah, okay.
Controversy, and then 1999.
Yeah.
Even up to like Around the World in a Day.
So the classic era of Prince, basically.
Yes. Yeah. The golden era.
Yeah.
And he was playing a version of Raspberry Beret, and it was extended on the front end. So the intro was longer.
Okay. Oh, so you can mix it.
And I was sitting there with my cousin, and I was like, what is happening? You know, we're waiting for it to kick in, and it didn't kick in. And it's just like going and going. We were like, what is happening? Mojo had all these extended versions, the Mayday, where he's screaming, Mayday, Mayday. We were like, what? So he would just play all this, party up, when it's usually the radio edit just ends. And when you're younger, you don't think about the fact that they just faded it out. You think the song is done.
Right.
You're like, okay, song is, it's over. It's 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That's it. No, it's 8 minutes. It's 11 minutes. It's 15.
He just had to fade it out for the best fit on.
Yeah. So when you hear that extra time, it's something really special. You know, back in those days of cassette, that was pre-CD, you know, early on. So to hear those and to hear B-sides that were only on 7 inches on 45s, like Horny Toad, or, you know, on the flip side of How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore. Those things they weren't on albums.
Yeah.
So the only way you could hear it is if you bought the 7-inch and you said, oh, I know I bought it for this, but what's this on the B side? Yeah. He was playing them like nothing. Yeah, it was a great thing. So I did the Prince show. I did, disco, and it was cool because people could come to Radion and they could, you know, have a drink, hear music on a loud system, at least be around 60 or 65 other people.
Right.
I mean, it was cool to get out of the house, you know what I mean? And be in a club, actually be in a club. You know, sure, you couldn't dance, but at the end, you know, people would get up and start to dance in place, you know, the last 5-10 minutes or whatever. But, you know, it was really special. You know, it was really, really special. And it helped, I know it helped me because we were in the house and we were enjoying just being home, but we still missed being in the club and, you know, the gigs.
Sure.
Yeah. And we did 19 weeks of that. 19 whole weeks. No COVID cases from it either. Right. We were clean. Oh yeah. We kept it clean. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think, because I mean, we covered all that stuff in the previous episode we did. So if you want to go back and listen to that more details,
go back.
But how do you, like, looking back on that period now, and the effect? I mean, I think there's so many things that across society and the economy and all the rest of it that it's affected. But I mean, do you think that the dance scene, or to what extent has the dance scene, generally speaking, been affected by that period that people had when they were taken away from the whole thing for that length of time?
In one aspect, I think it was decimating. In one aspect, and by saying that, I mean it kind of it's almost like a job where people are forced to go into early retirement. Yeah. A lot of DJs figured, this is it, I'm done. A lot of clubs, a lot of promoters, a lot of people, mainly people who would go to events. Either, okay, we're going to have a kid now, or I'm going to be a grown up now and, you know, get a real job or a corporate job, and I can't be out all night, or, you know, it just isn't for me anymore. So the whole scene flipped because a big chunk of these people who were going out every weekend stopped or couldn't. You know, and when it started up again, when everything was opening back up, there was that decision. Do I want to go out again like this, you know, like rave, you know, basically, you know, people had took a long, hard look in the mirror. Like, am I a raver? You know, I'm such and such years old. Am I still going to be at the club, you know, trying to 2-step or, and that in that way, it was decimated to the scene, but it also opened up and turn things into a new possibility. And I thought it was a good opportunity for the scene to grow, you know, and to actually come together more. But the only problem I saw was that there were not enough mentors or OGs, you know, to usher in these young kids who had never been to a party before. You got somebody 17, 16, 18, whatever, never been to a rave, a party, a club, a festival. And they come in there and they're like, okay, what do I do? Yeah. And the OGs are like at home with kids or, you know, wearing a suit, going to a 9 to 5 now. So now these kids are like, okay, what I heard is that you have to do this. You know? So then it kind of got a little out of hand, you know, in certain aspects, whether it was musically or with drugs or the type of parties. It just wasn't the same vibe anymore, you know, for a while. It's auto-correcting.
Do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's auto-correcting, but it's also at the same time being exploited to the highest extent possible.
Right.
You know, and
on a corporate level.
On a very corporate level. And it's not to say that all corporations are not interested in the scene or the music. But when you have like, basically venture capitalists who say, okay, let's just buy this, you know, or let's just buy that. As a business person, smart, you know, but my thing as an artist is to other artists and promoters and, you know, the like venue owners, if you let everyone buy everything up based on the fact that they think they can make a profit or what they call growth always.
Sure.
We need growth. You make more money every year, but you still need growth.
Right.
Okay. So what if there's no growth for 3 years? And then they finally decide, okay, this investment, you know, not this culture, not this art, this investment isn't working anymore. We're done. And they just either, you know, drop it and stop or sell it off or whatever. Then what do you do as an artist?
Yeah. It feels like it's kind of injected an element of, precariousness into the infrastructure around the scene. And particularly this is true in festivals, right? This is what's happened. And, you know, there's obviously been this kind of boycott emerge around the KKR in festivals, Superstruck, basically, which is actually not so much based on private equity ownership. It's to do with other things that KKR may or may not be involved with. Yeah. But actually just the involvement of, like you say, of venture capital and private equity itself is inherently destabilizing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, in my book, I mean, from where I come from, you know what I'm saying? And the people I know and my neighborhood where I grew up and my city, you're not going to see us doing that. You know, you just won't. You're not going to see UR. You're not going to see, you know what I mean? All these people out there are saying, yeah, we're going to do this for such a. And I know, you know, I don't like to judge people based on their decisions unless it's something that's evil or racist or, you know, homophobic or misogynist. If you just say, okay, I like this, I'm going to do it. A good example, I had a friend who was a DJ and he was heavy into electroclash. Yep. You know, and I just hadn't seen him for years and I finally saw him and I said, look, bro, I got to ask you a question. What's with this electroclash? Because it wasn't for me. And he used to be
a reasonable question to ask at any time, to be honest.
And he used to be a big house head. And I was like, what's with the electric? And he said, you know what, Mom? I genuinely really enjoy it. And I was like, fair enough. You know, issue buried. And I'm not mad at him. I'm not, you know, disappointed. I just wanted clarity. Like, what made you all of a sudden you know? Because I'm like, I know you and that's not you. So like to switch something based on how popular it is. Right. That's not how he is. Yep. So I'm thinking he must really like it, you know? And I had to confirm, you know what I'm saying?
It is possible. Okay, you've been watching this episode for about 15 minutes, so well done for sticking around this long. I'm just going to take this opportunity to tell you about the ways you can support the show if you so desire. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/ScubaOfficial. There are 2 very reasonably priced tiers there, both of which get you my bi-weekly bonus podcast where I talk about pertinent issues in the music industry. You can support us with a one-off donation if you like. That's over at scubaofficial.io/support. And if you just want to support without giving any money, which I completely understand, by the way, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Basically, that's the best you can do, right? Okay, well, thanks in advance. And I'll let you get back to the episode.
And I'm not trying to, you know, judge when people make decisions like that. But if your goal is just to capitalize and your goal is just to, you know, where's the art? Where does it fit in?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right, because this is supposed to be culture.
Yes.
Right. This is the cultural sector of the economy. I mean, and when you put it into the economy, obviously, you expose yourself to these kinds of forces. But yeah, it has to be primarily artistic.
You would hope. You would hope it. Yeah, that's the main point. I mean, you go to a restaurant for a home cooked meal, whether it's Michelin star or soul food, from somebody's mother, and you're hoping that they put their heart and soul into the effort of making that meal.
Yep.
And if that's the case where you go somewhere and you say, okay, I'm coming here, everybody's raving about this place, and next thing you know, it's like a assembly line, like McDonald's or something, and they're passing it out and saying this is Michelin star, by name only, basically. You're just a little disappointed. You're not going to be angry, but you're going to be like, what? Oh, come on,
Yeah.
And you'll obviously go somewhere else. But then what if that place is the same and the next place and the next place? That's when you start to go, something's not right. And that's what I felt. I was like looking around going, are they paying attention? I saw this 15, 20, at least 20 years ago, at least. And I would talk to people about it. I saw this with distribution before distribution collapsed, when it was vinyl, before digital actually kicked in. I used to tell people distribution is going to go away. It can't sustain.
Absolutely. So to draw out the curtain, we record 2 of these episodes at once. And the conversation I had directly before this was with someone who worked at Prime Distribution in the months leading up to the collapse of it. And there are so many stories, because basically every vinyl distribution company went bust.
Yes.
Right. Screwing loads of people in the process.
Yep. Yeah. We were lucky. We didn't have a lot of outstanding invoices. Because my wife is an accountant,
right?
Tax accountant. So the scariest of all accountants.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And she was on top of it. She was so slick because she would make sure they would pay. She had her techniques. I can say it now because they don't exist anymore. But you say, like, the distributor says, okay, we want to put in an order. And you're like, okay, but you owe us some money. Yeah, but we need this order, Okay, no problem. What do you need? We need 300 copies of these, 300 of those, 200 of those. Okay, cool. She would send them half of everything.
Okay.
And they would get it and they would go, hey, did you look at the order, the PO? She's like, yeah, I did, but you still owe us money. And they were like, fuck. So in order to get the other half of their order, they had to pay whatever they owed. Yeah, she kept it. Yeah, she kept them, on point. So we didn't suffer much. But we also didn't put much stock in the distribution at that time.
So you weren't doing P&D? You were?
No.
Yeah.
No, we were just straight up, DIY and then get it to whatever distributors you can in whatever region. Back then, regions were everything.
Yeah. When are we talking about? What year roughly?
I started a label like 95. So it went on. I did one release. But then my wife urged me to start the label. What was it? 2002, and came out with like 3 releases at once. I was like, okay, we'll start it. Let's do it. Bam. And then started going through distribution. So it's like around 2002, early 2000.
Yeah, it's the post Napster era, right? This is what we're talking about. Because that's the thing. Because I mean, Napster you think about as being torpedoing the CD market and the majors and all that kind of thing, but it affected the whole thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't mad. Things have to progress, but it's about how people handle their business and how they value certain things. Like right now, I just moved all my vinyl from the U.S. to Amsterdam.
Right. Yeah. Okay. How many records did that sell?
Almost 10,000.
Ouch.
Yeah. And I packed them all. I personally touched every single piece of vinyl and put it in the box, looked at it, thought about it, reminisced, whatever. It took me about 3 weeks, I think.
Did you weed out much from it, or was there a process of that, or was it just a case of figuring out what was there and
It was crazy because what happened was I had personal collection, and then we have a house that we just sold. It was in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was like our peaceful, respite house. And when we bought it, we had been there a couple of years, and I was going to this vinyl shop there called Ear Ecstasy. And the guy who was there, the manager, used to work for Red Bull, and he would like the head of Red Bull in that region.
Okay.
So when they do events or whatever, and he knew everything. So he was ordering for the shop. So he would get in all this quality vinyl. So I was like, cool, I'm lucky, here in Louisville, Kentucky, I can buy some quality. So I was out of town. I was in Belgium, and I got a call from my wife at the hotel, and she was like, Dad, we were driving past Ear Ecstasy, and they were having a sale. And it was those little shopping hand basket, like when you go to the grocery, and it's whatever you could fit in there for like $25.
Okay.
And she was like, so tell me some names. And I was like, oh, anything that's Jeff Mills, Moodymann, you are Boo. Just rattling it off. Relief Records. So they got a couple of baskets, her and our daughter, and brought them home. And I was out of town. And I came back the next day, and I got in a car from the airport, and she was like, yeah, we got this. And I was like, are you kidding me? It's like, let's go back right now. So went straight from the airport there. Right. Go to the shop, and he's like, oh, sale's done. We just did it because we were basically gonna shut the store, and we were trying to liquidate this vinyl, and whatever we didn't sell, we're just gonna take a write-off and donate it. And I was like, you're gonna just donate all this vinyl to like Salvation Army or Goodwill and hope that people find these gems? And
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. So she was like, my wife goes, how much for everything? And I'm like, what the hell? And then it hit me. I'm like, yeah, how much for everything? And then he was like, you guys want to buy all the vinyl? Yeah. He's like, you know what? Let me call the owner. So we called the owner, and we negotiated, and we bought the entire shop, all the vinyl. It was like, I don't know, 7,000, 8,000 pieces, and just
Multiple copies of various bits there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So now I have this collection, we brought back to the house, and I'll send you pictures, because there's pictures of when we had our living room was like full of vinyl.
Right.
And it took 3 months to sort it.
Okay.
And I built racks in the garage.
Uh-huh.
So I have like this record shop in the garage. And it's mass thousands.
It's your record shop. Yeah.
I sent it to people, and they were like in Detroit, and there were pictures, and they were like, I'm going to drive down, man, because I want to go through some of that. I got to get, and it was everything. I mean, I have, you name it. Every Dog Has Its Days sealed, Rare You Are, 7 inches, you name it. Derek May remixes, Theo Parrish Ugly Edits, just really a ton of stuff and a ton of rare stuff. And I was like maybe 3 copies of Moodymann's album on Peace Frog,
right,
sealed.
Yeah.
What? So by the time we figured, okay, I can keep some of it as my private collection. The rest of it, we'll find good homes for it. We'll put on Discogs, By the time we put it up, some of the records on Discogs, we sold like maybe 200 of them tops, and made back our money from buying the whole collection.
Yeah.
So now I was sitting on like almost 8,000, 7,800 records that, we were like, okay. And that money will go to the homeless homies.
Right. This is your charity, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So
So yeah, all that vinyl, it took forever. But now it's with me again.
Okay.
Yeah. We flew it over.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much did it cost to fly over? Jeez. Yeah. Okay. Probably, more than you paid in the first place, right? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you play just vinyl when you play out still? I can't remember.
No, I play digital.
Yeah, okay.
But I do make an effort to make sure I play like around at least 3 vinyl sets a year.
So, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm playing one coming up in the Netherlands, back to back with Benny Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's called the vinyl rave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, I still love playing vinyl.
Sure.
And it's cool to watch the young people just go, like, freak out. Like,
what's happening?
Yeah, that's seriously like, what is happening? Especially if you do 3 decks, then they just really don't know, like, what to make of it. Yeah, it's cool, and the cool thing is I have so many young people that I either mentor or know, and they're learning how to DJ, but they bought vinyl decks.
Right.
They didn't buy CDJs.
Right.
I was like, whoa, that's a
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got that. So amongst a certain section of people, anyway, certain section of people coming into it, it's got that sort of perceived authenticity. I mean, it is authentic, but like,
Yeah.
but it's very much the kind of like, there is a, like I said, a subsection of people who think that this is how it should be done.
They think this is the real deal. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's cool. I mean, there's room for everything, but you know, to see that gives you hope that, you know, people dig deeper and further back to understand and move it forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talked about this last time and it was quite got an interesting exchange, actually, like the extent to which you should have to learn to beat match. Like what to what extent is this and it's just a process of learning it. Obviously, like, you know, you don't necessarily have to employ it in playing out, but just the act of doing it in the first place possibly, or maybe not, but possibly adds something to just your kind of inherent understanding of DJing, generally speaking. I mean, like, what's your instinctive response to that? Should people be forced to learn how to?
I'll be the enforcer. I'm like,
right.
If I show up at your doorstep, you know what it is. You're like, oh, I got a beat match. Oh. I'm like, now. Okay. I was eating dinner now. But I mean, I think everybody should learn how to beat match. I mean, that's DJing 101. You know, if you don't do that, then I really don't think that you're in it for the right reason. If you're not trying to respect the art itself to the most, you know, molecule, you know, essence of saying, okay, the least I can do. If you're a chef, you're going to have to know knife skills. Yeah. You know, if you don't, you can still be a great chef, but it's going to be really awkward, you know? So it's not like you're cheating the people eating your food necessarily, but you're cheating yourself because it would make it so much easier and you would understand everything so much better. You know, like, why does it have to be diced or chopped, or why? You know, yeah, that's what the basics are for.
This is an interesting comparison, actually. Yeah. So like to have been, I mean, to be a good executive chef, do you have to have been a good sous chef at some point?
See,
right?
Exactly.
And
do you have to?
You do, right.
I think so. I think the basics are innate for every chef that's done well for themselves in that aspect. They had to have known their.
Yeah.
I have another one, just because of how we came in from the airport yesterday. Black cab. Right? We had a long talk. This guy was hilarious. Okay, our driver was hilarious, and it reminded us why we love black cabs, right. You know, why we love the black taxis in London, is because you get that vibe, you get that sense of, I don't have to worry because I know where he knows where he's going. And he was telling us all about when he did the knowledge and about what they would do and how the instructor might say, okay, stop here. We're taking a detour. How would you get to such and such? And he's like, you couldn't even hesitate. You had to tell him. And we compare that to the Uber.
Sure.
Without their phone and the directions, they're toast. And you see them still trying to refresh and update and like, oh, and sweating bullets and, you know, doing these crazy maneuvers and everybody's honking at them. So you compare that. Yeah, it gets you to your destination. You know, it's a reasonable fare. But wouldn't you rather be in the black cab? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Wouldn't you rather be with a driver who knows exactly where he's going or she's going, every street, every turn? You know, what time to go, what time not to go, to expect traffic, etc. I mean, you're doing yourself a disservice by not taking advantage of that knowledge. Same with DJing. I mean, I still, to this day, will do something and I'll stop and go, whoa, I never done that before. I do, you know, because I think, okay, if I've done this, this, and this, then maybe this is possible. And I try it, you know. That's another thing, trial and error. Nobody learns from being perfect.
Yeah.
You know, I learned from messing up. And then you take that into the arena when you go out. You know, you mess up at home as much as you can.
Yeah, right.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You mess up. So when you get out there, you know, that's why people rehearse. That's why you run lines as an actor. That's just how it is.
How much do you practice still?
I don't have much time to practice now, but to be honest, I kind of practice while I'm playing.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the frame of mind of I've been doing it so long and I'm established and I have longevity. So Good. I'm going to try some crazy right now.
Yeah, right.
Let's see what happens.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Why
I
not?
did it. I was in Vancouver and I was playing, like 4 CDJs, and I don't necessarily have all 4 playing at the same time because it gets noisy, but I had 2 playing, and then I mixed in the third, and then I took one scratch it off beat. So it's on a half beat. So it's doing a little do. Not with the effects, but just, half
just the
beat.
fader,
And then I put all 3 faders up. I have them all going. And then I just did a double backspin on 2 of them and then put in the 4th one and took the 3rd one out. And everybody was just standing there like, and it worked. And I was standing there like, no, yeah.
It's like, thank fuck that worked.
Like, I did that one, And I just, was like thinking, what can I do with this? Or, but I've always been that way. I've always just, it's a Detroit thing where you do the best you can with what you got. And that gives you an advantage, because then when the setup is perfect, then you really have an advantage over everyone else. Because you've been playing on it's like if you're playing basketball and the hoop is like, 11 feet high, and it's crooked, and you can play well on that, and you get to a really regulation, nice, fresh hoop. You kind of have an advantage, So that's how I feel going into the parties all the time.
Sure.
Do
you think that, okay, I mean, this is talking general terms about a new generation of DJs. Even if they have bothered to learn to beatmatch, I mean, who's good? Who's impressed you?
I mentor a lot of DJs, a lot of artists in Amsterdam.
Yep.
They're not all Dutch, but he's also our assistant too. He helps with everything further, with the parties, the label, you name it. Koen, he's a Zusi. He's doing really well. And it's good to see someone listen and take your tips and pointers and put them into effect. We did a special mix before on a stream, and it was to show how the mentorship works. And he did really well. And it was funny because the monitors weren't perfect. There's a little latency.
Mm-hmm.
So he had never encountered that.
Right.
And I never talked to him about it. It was a perfect lesson to learn. And on the spot, I had to tell him exactly what to do, how to deal with it. So we have him at Jack Frazier.
Okay.
He's been releasing some blazing techno lately. But whoever else that impressed me, we have, of course, Yeti Mind Tricks did We Ain't Like Them. And that track just jumped out of the freaking box, man. I heard it and I was like, this track is dope. And then I started getting messages from people like Peggy Goo. She was like, is this you? Cause I just been running it. She was like, is this you? I'm like, no, this is one of my mentees. Okay. When it's mastered, send it,
Okay.
And he's like freaking out. And then Ben Sims did a re-edit of it. And he's like, Ben Sims re-edit, So we have Yeti, we have Taylor, we have, I like a lot of the New York, I call them kids just because they're younger. They're not kids, but the younger New York crew, I like a lot of people here. There's a contingent of DJs here. I had a good long listen and talk with Isaac Carter, who impressed me. Again, every time I go to New York, like Daya, and there's so many people there who I'm just sitting there like after I play, because New York is like 24 hours. So I could go and play like from 3 to 6 on a afternoon on Sunday in New York in the club, and then go outside, and they're having like house music barbecue outside now. And I'm listening and I'm talking to someone, just trying to get my adrenaline down from the gig. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, who is this? And they're talking, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but so now I'm going up trying to figure out who this DJ is. It's still in me. I still like try and track down people who are really rocking it. I like that. I like that there's people who still are putting their foot in it. And, I got a compliment. I got surprised because our daughter, we were in the States and I was packing up the vinyl, and we were getting ready to come back to Amsterdam. and get this message through from my daughter. And then she was like, there's this guy who's really hot right now, and I'm trying to get tickets to go see him, blah, blah, blah. And then I was telling my friend, and then he sent me this video. And it was this guy, Zach Fox.
Okay.
And he was doing this talk, it was a stream. And they were talking about techno and house and black artists and, everything. And they were asking him, so who's inspiring you now? Who you listen to? Who you? He's like, for me, it's DJ Bone. Like 100, man, DJ Bone. And then so she's sitting there like, I can't believe it. This is the guy I'm trying to get tickets to go see. And he just mentioned my dad. She was like, I can't believe I just saw that. And then so I saw it. Now I didn't know. And he did it back in July, I think. And he was really humble and modest about it. He wasn't tagging me like, hey, Bone, I mentioned you. Yeah. So I just messaged him. I was like, yo, I saw what you said, thanks. And he was like, yeah, OG. And he sent me this long ass message. It was dope. It was so dope. So it's cool to know that there's people who, still backtrack, not saying that I'm just old because I'm current as well.
Sure.
But there are people who will do the work to say, okay, if I like this guy now, what has he done before? Because that's what I used to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I like what they're doing now, I got to go back, and see, let me see some nuggets from before. Why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it gives me really great hope because of the young people. Mm. Even in Detroit, there's a crew of nice young DJs, Mm. Yeah. I have we call him nephew, DJ Ivy, and he's blazing.
Yeah.
He can tear it up. There's a bunch of young Detroit guys who can tear it up.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm happy because it's been a while, and whenever people would ask me, I'd feel bad because I couldn't say, yeah, Detroit has a crop of new,
right.
And they do.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
What other names should people be aware of?
Some of them have been touring already. Max Watts. Mm-hmm. Who's the brother who, I forget. There's so many. It's like 6 or 7 people. Ivy. Oh, he just messaged me too. I feel bad because I can't remember everybody's name. Henry Brooks.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a couple other, other people who, he was just here too. And he messaged me. He was like, you told us to hit you up when we were here. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Too many nephews.
Going back to like mentoring stuff, what are the common messages that you feel that you have to give people? Like, what are the common mistakes that people are making? What are the common things, or if there are any commonality between them?
I think they're looking at, they're too worried about a career before they hone their craft.
Okay.
Be good and then go out and do your thing. But don't expect, certain things to happen for you without putting in the work. They think if I do this content and, I have a certain amount of followers, that's all. I'm mission accomplished.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm there. Mm-hmm. I'm the guy. I'm the lady. You might be for a while and then you won't be.
Sure.
You wouldn't want, I feel that if your career hinges on one single thing, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else, any industry, anything, if cars don't have gas, if you don't have electric cars, then you're just screwed, right? If all you have is social media, if all you have is, content and that goes away and you're screwed, that's nobody's fault, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Come on.
Absolutely.
No. Like if somebody took away my vinyl, I can still play.
Right.
If somebody took away my digital, I could still play. I had to play. I remember I went and played when I had a broken arm.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was literally playing, with one arm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And I actually closed out a festival in Torino on the main stage on the last day.
A Kappa.
Yep. Kappa
Right.
Future.
Yeah.
With one arm.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's doing it on hard mode. I think it's fair.
Hey, I told you, Detroit is different. Man. They build us different there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I do get the impression that, the kind of career thing is it's real now in a way that it just wasn't there until quite recently, actually, I think. Like certainly 10 years ago, that was not, didn't seem to be like that.
Oh no. Right. I mean, you had high profile people, but not superstars. Like you might have one or two superstars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have somebody who would break boundaries, you know, like Goldie, you know, and you see him in a movie.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you're like, okay, wait, that's Goldie.
In a fucking Bond movie as well.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what I mean? That's a level, you know, that people look at and go, okay, that's next level.
Yeah.
But now people are branded and sponsored and clothing line and perfume and, I don't know, a special edition collab with a car and you name it.
Yeah.
People in video games and it's accelerating, and it's gotten to the point where I feel anything is possible.
Yeah.
So why not? You know, it's been techno, especially. I mean, I love house, but house is lucky because house's audience ages with house.
Right.
It doesn't say, okay, I'm too old for this.
Okay.
I'm done.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, techno's a different animal.
Yeah. Because I guess house has the inherent advantage of having songs.
Yeah.
Of course,
songs,
it's things you
vocals,
can
and
sing along to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can play on the radio in the daytime. Yeah.
So they have a huge advantage of having the audience that can be the same age as the DJs.
Right.
You know what I mean? Techno. Can you imagine? You go to a party you know, a techno club, and everybody there is 50 something.
Yeah.
Or 45 or
Sure.
over the DJ's age.
So I went to see Orbital in London earlier this year, and they were just doing the first two albums. So they just played the first two albums from start to finish. That's all they did. That was the show. And I was amongst the youngest people there. You know what I mean?
I love it, man. Yeah. Those are some of my favorite festivals in the Netherlands or Belgium, is where most of the crowd is older.
Yeah.
It just brings you back.
Yeah, it's a different kind of atmosphere, right?
And they're going hard.
Oh, yeah.
No phones.
Sure.
Just, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Partying so hard because they got to get home and let the babysitter go.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love it.
Totally. Okay. I want to talk about the new record, actually, when we've been going nearly an hour and haven't even mentioned it. I'm in the middle of making an album as well at the moment, and which I shouldn't mention because I have been trying to make it for nearly 10 years now. But I've really tried to do it, and I'm really kind of like deep in the weeds with it. And I hadn't kind of been in that kind of process of trying to think about something as a, you know, in a kind of like wider terms. Tell me about the new record and like how it came together and like, you know.
You mean the last one they did on Further?
The one that came out in June.
Yeah. It's basically me.
The End of Never, it's called.
Yeah. It's basically just me expressing myself. It's I don't know how to put it. It's the therapy.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's me being able to vent musically without having to, you know, be verbal about what I'm against or for, and I hope from the feedback I got, you know, I think it achieved that. I hope that it reaches people to the point where you feel it instead of just hear it. You know, you hear it and move, you know, dance track. And then after you've heard that track a few times, you're like, oh, okay, I've had enough, you know, different clubs, different venues, DJs. But I want to make some records where you'll carry it or listen to it for years and years and years, you know, and you don't necessarily have to be in a club. You could be in your car. You could just be at home, but I wanted to give you some kind of feeling so that you'll want to listen to it because that's how you want to feel. You're like, oh, when I feel like this. It's like my favorite artists growing up, Stevie Wonder, Prince. It was just, or hearing Patti LaBelle sing anything, you know, it's a feeling in there. And a lot of people in my family when I was younger, that's how they expressed themselves, was through listening to music. They weren't musicians. They were be in a mood and they would listen to something that basically corresponded with how they felt. And that's how you know, ooh, you know, my dad's feeling a little, you know, this, or my mom's feeling a little that. And I just try and make it. And I'm lucky because when I do it, I can get out the feeling, the vibe, the idea, and I can cater it to being danceable if I want to. it doesn't come out where it has to be, this. I think it's cool because I have both avenues. If I wanted to, I could just do tracks all day long, but then I wouldn't really feel anything from it.
Right.
So as much as it might get played for a few weeks or for a month, I wouldn't get the same joy as 4 years from now, somebody dropping a track and I go, and I hear it and then it surprises me because I go, damn. And I'm sitting there like, well, that's my track.
Right.
I do. Sometimes I forget.
Yeah.
I do. And I have a bunch of tracks that are just sitting. They're not finished. My wife always says it's finished and she'll send them out to get them mastered. And I'm like, it wasn't finished. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was finished. No. Yeah. So I have a bunch just sitting, and then it's an expression for me. I get it when you say it's taking you a while. That's a good thing. You shouldn't force yourself to make music.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm not a fan of deadlines.
Sure.
They have to happen. I get it.
It is a bit of a balance between being disciplined and being unforcing yourself.
Yeah. And I think the end of Never was, it was very therapeutic and it was well received. And
did you sit down to make an album?
No.
So what was the?
I just make tracks, but then the end of Never, I made all those at the same time. Not like at the same time, but I made them in the same time.
Not with the specific.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's just one of those things where you say, okay, I have these tracks. Now, what do I do with them? Or I have half an album. We're not going to release this, so I got to add 3 tracks. So, the team gets on me and they're like, oh, by the way, we need 3 more, or we need 2 more, or we need this. I'm like, okay. And I always go past the deadline. I always do. Not on purpose, but it's mainly because when it's right, it's right. And then I can feel it and I'm like, okay, it's done, and then I just kind of let it go, release it into the ether and then just sit back and go, okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah. It's such a important part of the process, isn't it? I mean, I've this week been in the process of doing a 12 for another label, which I almost never do. I almost release all of my stuff on Hot Flush. But, and I'm used to kind of working to my own kind of A&R sort of, standards or whatever. But when I'm doing a release of someone else, I just start overthinking it so badly. And and actually the release in question, I sent the original demos that I sent it's Damien it's for Crosstown. And he's just like, I've sent him the new versions. He's like, no, I'd actually just prefer the demo. And I've spent weeks just tinkering around, EQing the kick and could have saved myself a lot of trouble.
I know. You overthink it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I'm the same. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is I have to learn how to subtract.
Right.
I have to. I force myself to, and it works, but it's so painful. When you think it should have been in there and you take it out and then you officially declare the song finished.
Yeah.
And you're like, but I took those 2 things out, Yeah. No. Oh, that hurts. That's the worst one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But then, my team and my fam, they take it and make me look good. So I'm happy,
What is the setup like, the studio setup?
My setup?
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly DAW.
Really?
Because all my gear was still in the States. Okay. I hadn't moved my gear to Amsterdam.
It sounds like you did it with a bunch of gear, I have to say.
Thank you. That was the point it took a lot to get that.
It's the saturation, right? The kind of crunchy, yeah.
Because
I mean, you can do that now with plugins, but it's
And people think it's weird. Like everyone else I speak to, they think it's weird that I want that instead of having everything super crisp. And luckily, shout out to Kevin, who does all the mastering for the label, at Valence in New York. He completely understands who I am, what I'm about, and my sound. I'll send him tracks to master, and he will hit me back and be like, okay, at 2 minutes and 10 seconds into this one, I hear this sound. and I'm having a feeling it's meant to be there. You know, anyone else would probably think it's a mistake, blah, blah, blah. If I clean it up, I know this track isn't going to be as warm as you like. And he just runs through it, and then he'll ask me basically, should I correct it or should I leave it the way it is?
Yeah.
And I love that because sometimes the mistakes give it that crunchiness or give it some kind of warmth.
Yeah.
And if you clean it up too much, you know, oof.
Yeah, absolutely. You need that because of that character, doesn't it? Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I mean, it was very cathartic, and it was, I don't know. I mean, I have outboard gear, and I've been buying pieces, you know, in Europe, but for the most part, it's a DAW with controllers.
Yeah.
You know, and I brought a couple of pieces of gear home, and there's some more I'm going to bring. A lot of it is in limbo at the moment, and I'm going to ship some out to my friend. But I wanted the sound that I wanted, like when I had my mixing desk.
Yeah.
You know, and I got it. I'm happy.
Yeah. Right.
It took a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. Because you were a DJ before you were a producer.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah. We talked about this a bit last time. But yeah, I mean, just recap the kind of process of becoming a producer. Like, at what point did it become a big part of what you do artistically?
I think it was when I got a little discouraged with not being able to find enough tracks that had energy and emotion. And this was back in, you know, early 90s.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I go to the shop. And at that time, you know, I wasn't traveling. You know, I would play in local clubs, and I'm making, you know, like $50 or $75 or gas money and drinks or whatever.
Yeah.
And at the time I wasn't even old enough to drink, you know? So I'm like trying to figure out how I'm going to make back the money that I spent on these vinyl to play at the club. And so you have to kind of dwindle it down and say, okay, this track is dope, but it's only one good track out of 4 tracks.
Yep.
So no. So, you know, you make these decisions, and finally it just came to a point where I said, you know what? I'm going to save up my money, get a nice workstation, and make my own tracks that I know I can hear in my head, you know,
Yep.
and I'm not finding them, you know? And I was lucky enough to get like white labels from Matt Mike, or, you know, he was giving me all the submerged distribution white labels. So I was lucky to have all the homegrown stuff. But any import, and those were the ones that cost more, of course. If it wasn't that sound, I just was like, man, you know, so I started to make tracks, and then I would play the acetates out.
Yeah.
You know, and then once I could, you know, see the response, then I was like, okay.
Do you remember the first time you played one of your tunes out?
Yes.
Go on.
Oh man, I was so nervous for no good reason.
Absolutely.
It's not like anyone knew it was me.
I still get nervous now playing out tunes for the first time.
Like no, I felt like everyone there was going to turn on and go, you know, and just
what is this?
Yeah, or walk off the floor or something. They just kept dancing, and it wasn't a huge response.
Sure.
You know, but they didn't stop dancing, and they didn't leave the dance floor.
It sounded plausible.
So I was like, okay, it's believable. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that. But it let me know. That's why I was doing acetate, because it let me know it's not getting the feeling through what I'm trying to, you know, convey.
Right.
So let me go back to the drawing board and work on something else. And then I did. And that's when I came with Black Lives on the first release. And I remember when I would play that out, people would the heads would just kind of snap back like, oh, and then get that face scrunched up.
With the bass face.
And I'll never forget the biggest compliment. I was opening, because I had a residency at this club, Motor, in Detroit.
Yep.
And Advent was there, and they came to do a live set. And that's when they were the
Mr.
original
G.
Advent. Yeah, Mr. G and Cisco.
Yeah, Mr. G's been on the podcast recently. He was he's a character.
It was one of the best live sets, I swear. It was so funky. At that time, I was telling Detroit guys that this is what we should be making, because it was electro, it was up-tempo, it was funky, it was machine.
Yeah, that early stuff is awesome, isn't it? Yeah.
It was ridiculously good.
Yeah.
And they were doing it live at Motor, and I was like just waiting. And so I played before them, and then they played, did their live set. And then I played a short bit after, because the clubs in Detroit closed at 2 at the time. So after their live set, after I was finished playing, I was talking to them, and I remember they were like, yeah, man, we just got to get 1-track ID from you. Cause we were listening right before we went on, and you played this track, and it kept saying something over and over, like, black scars, black something, that's that. And I was like, what? And I couldn't think of it because it was mine. And I'm like going through my Rolodex, and I'm like,
Well, it can't be that.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, Black Lives? And he's like, yeah, I think that's it. He's like, just go Black Lives. He's like, that's it. And I was like, holy. I was like, that's mine. I said, I just got these back, the test pressings. And they were like, no. I was like, ding.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then from that point on, because I've always felt that way going to clubs. My favorite tracks were the ones that would make me feel something.
Right.
When the first time I heard Amazon from UR, first time I heard basically any Guy Called Gerald track, you know, just that feeling, Adonis, Fingers Incorporated. There were these certain artists where when you hear it, you just go, what is that? Juan Atkins, anything from Juan, like, you know, the early stuff of Model 500, it was just crazy. It was just so good. Cybertron.
Yep.
You know, to hear those for the first time, it's magical.
Sure.
And they give you that vibe, that feeling. So I always say I'm spoiled, you know, to grow up in Detroit, to be from Detroit. And it's because that's my soundtrack. So of course I'm a critic. Of course, when somebody tells me what techno is or what's good techno, and I'm like, okay, all right. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there going, you have no clue. I'm thinking of Drexciya. I'm thinking of, you know what I mean? Jacob's Optical Stairway and all this stuff that I've heard. The first time I heard Red Planet, you know, just blew me away.
Yeah.
You know, I love it. I love it because that gave me the bar. It set the bar for my taste. And I can go with stuff that's under that bar, but I can always know that I need to strive for this or higher, whether it's making music, whether it's playing something out. And with Detroit music, it's difficult because sometimes it can be so emotional and so cinematic. You can't run these tracks back to back.
Yeah. That's okay. So this is going to be sort of my next question. Because absolutely, the kind of almost the defining feature of Detroit techno is the melodic side of it.
Yeah.
To some extent, at least. And obviously, you know, over time, techno has come to mean to many people something a bit different to that. But I mean, at the time, like, because I mean, the kind of harder side of European techno, it emerged quite quickly in the 90s. Like for you guys in Detroit, like what did you broadly speaking think about European techno?
We hated it at first.
Okay.
To be honest, we hated it. But there were different artists. It was funny because you could easily pick out artists back then because there wasn't 1,000,001, 10 million
relatively small
producers.
Yeah.
So you could hear something and say, ooh, okay, all right. And then you look at the name and that's that. And then you hear something maybe 2 weeks later or a week later. Ooh, and you look and it might be that same name. So now you're starting to get a sense of what they're about.
Yep.
You know, and that happened for us when it came to Laurent Garnier, when it came to Ben Sims.
Yeah.
We would know. You know what I mean? You would hear it and you would be like, For Hero. You know, we knew. We were like, okay, that's Mark Indigo. We know. And it just grew to this like extended family of respected artists, basically. You know, that Detroit people really enjoyed. And it was cool because it was a pretty small, you know, group. And it wasn't like everybody knew each other and would hang out. It's just kind of known in the city. And it was separated by DJ and producer. So there were certain tracks where you know, okay, these producers are fire. But there were very few back in the day, DJs that could come to Detroit from Europe and play and get a good response.
Right.
Very few.
Right.
You know, because techno was all black back then. You go to a party, it's 97, 98% black people.
Yeah.
You know, So to have a white guy from Europe come into that atmosphere, that environment, and play, and if they're not coming correct, everybody in there is just like, no, it's like the Apollo.
That's an intimidating atmosphere to be in. Like,
It got bad. I've seen someone do a live set, and they had kind of spoken bad about Detroit before they got there in an interview, and it came out in the magazine.
oh dear.
And a bunch of guys showed up, and I'm talking about like artists, but they're still Detroiters, and they stood in front of him with their arms crossed,
Jesus
just staring
Christ.
at him.
Imagine it.
And he's trying to do his live set, and like 20 minutes in, he stopped, and he just was like, I can't do this,
Wow.
because they were just mean mugging him in the front, like, oh, Detroit doesn't mean anymore, huh? And they're just looking at him, and he's trying to.
Yeah.
And you got 15 guys in the front, you know, with their arms crossed, looking at you like that.
Yeah.
You know, UR jacket on with the patch, and
the full thing.
yeah. It was a proving ground. Detroit used to be the ultimate proving ground. But then you get somebody like Laurent would come, or Dimitri from Amsterdam. First, I heard Dimitri. Carl and Derek had him come do a loft party. He played some of the funkiest. People were going crazy. They were like telling him, you got to bring him back. You got to bring him back immediately. So he would come to Detroit all the time. And whenever they saw Dimitri, packed. And then Laurent came, played like a 7-hour set at some like loft party, just blew everyone out the water. Everybody was just like, whoa, you know, this guy's got it. So it was always a good place to go. And if you could go and be humble about who you are and what you do and do your thing and see what the crowd does, not play for them, but just express yourself to them and see how they react. Then, you know, it was always a good place to come and, you know, do your thing. But back then we didn't care who was who, you know. I remember Mike calling Aphex Twins. He came to Submerge. He was knocking on the door. Mike thought he was homeless. Mike's like, we ain't got nothing for you here. And he was like, no, I'm coming to the shop to get some techno. And Mike was like, he told me the story. He said, Mike was like, well, who are you? He said, I'm Aphex Twins. He goes, Aphex Twins? And he said,
What's the other one?
I make techno. And Mike was like, do you? So he didn't know, you know, early on, of course. I remember I introduced D-Tron to Moodymann, because D-Tron's a huge Moodymann fan. One of the first, early on in the festival years. And he was like, hey, boom. Because we know D-Tron. We always have dinner the festival weekend, you know, our families, the D-Trons and the Bones. And he was like, I'm a real big fan of Kenny. Can you introduce me? I was like, yeah. I was like, but don't be shocked, you know, by what he says. He's like, what do you mean? I said, okay. So you'll see.
He might be a bit.
I didn't know how he would react. I didn't know, but I know Detroit people. So I go up to him and I say, yo, Kenny, this is my man from Switzerland. This is D-Tron. He's a big fan. He goes, D-Tron? Sounds a lot like Detroit. And then he just turned around and walked away. That was it.
God.
I was like, I warned you, bro. That's all he said.
God.
You know? Yeah, Detroit people, you know, because we are who we are. And we didn't really have to know anybody in Europe, to be honest, at that time. Mm-hmm. If we did, it was because they had skill. It was that simple. It wasn't a status thing. It wasn't, this is a big name, you should know him. We'd be like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was good stuff happening, in fairness. So, like,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, not all of it was good, obviously, but not all of everything is ever good.
And just because we didn't have somebody on our radar didn't mean they weren't good. You know, because if you do find out about somebody, of course, they were good before you found out about them.
Sure.
So, you know, it's just a matter of discovery.
Yeah.
And I think that goes to the timeless aspect of what we try and do, what we've been doing. That's what I try and do, you know, with releases. I try and make something that people will honestly will listen to or play for like the next 10 years, even if it's just one track.
Yeah.
You know, I want them to dig it out and say, yeah, remember this one. And it is not as a hit, but just as an emotional connection to the track.
Yeah.
I think it's important for music.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that kind of emotional aspect of the music, I think, is I think over time, I mean, as you kind of been alluding to, it kind of lost its way a little bit, and in that respect, and certainly in the way that techno is perceived as a genre, it kind of like got it painted into this, or kind of like stuck in this box of being this kind of soulless machine music.
Yeah.
Which it shouldn't be, and it doesn't have to be.
No. I mean, you can always have, I love tracks. Put it this way, there are classic Chicago tracks that are so stripped down and so bare, but so funky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can have dance tracks and tools, and they don't have to be boring or just repetitive or, just fit the box, like you said. Because there's some that I run and people are like, what is that? And I'm like, this is 30 years old.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what that is. Same with the UK. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Mark Williams' productions too, because he makes such good, honest dance floor tribal techno.
Yeah.
It just blew me away, He did a re-edit and released it of Conga, Shake Your Body Baby, Come On Shake Your Body Baby to the Conga.
Sure.
And it's just so good. And you think about it, it's like what, Gloria Estefan or something? And he just used the vocal, and it's just like, shake your body, baby, shake your body, baby, to the conga. And it's just so good. And I used to play it, and people didn't know what it was until it would just get to that one point. And then it said, shake your body. And then it was like, whoa, wait. That's brilliant. That's the move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's next level. So, I mean, techno for us had to be, at the beginning, it was just funky. It was political. It was a message.
Say more about that.
And a lot of people think that techno shouldn't be political, or people shouldn't speak on politics or how they feel. And techno started out as political.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I think people have different ideas about what political means in this case. So can you talk a bit more about what the politics of it was initially?
Yeah, it was about civil rights. Basically, it was about fairness for the gap in economics. About food deserts, and even to the point where who was it? UR did a track. I want to kill my radio station, because it does my hood no good.
Right.
And if people who listen to techno and house took issue with it, they didn't get it. He was talking about the bull hip hop that they were playing on the radio stations in the inner cities, especially in Detroit, New York, and LA and Chicago. And it was all this demeaning women, and it was all this. And any other song that would get played on the radio that had lyrics like this would get bleeped like crazy. But they would let certain innuendo or whatever slip through and play it. And I think it just came to a boiling point, and he made that track. And he was basically saying, we need to kill the radio stations. We don't need them to exist. This is what they're playing on a Monday morning when you're driving your kid to school, and they're hearing somebody talk about, what was it? It was, I'm in love with the cocoa or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Talking about somebody in love with cocaine. Selling it, doing it, whatever. And it was on the radio just all day, every day. And they're like, why are you playing this to my people? So it wasn't about techno, tracks or artists or whoever. It was about what they were giving our people in our area. And he said, it does our hood no good. Why? We went from electrifying Mojo to that, somebody with an open format, where we learned so much. We learned about everything new wave from Mojo, everything, Yellow Magic Orchestra, Kraftwerk, even hip hop. He was playing Run DMC, Public Enemy, all this stuff, all the songs in between these genres that you can't classify, One More Shot and C-Bank and all this stuff. It's just, to go from that to what we ended up with was just,
Sure.
So that was part of the politics.
Okay. How directly related is the politics in its original form, as you've just described, how is that directly transplantable to politics of today and the techno scene today and the politics and the economy and society, whatever, of today? And when people have these arguments about whether techno is or isn't political in the current context, like how do these two things relate to each other?
I think it's basically non-existent when it comes to people who are political in the techno arena now. Everybody's either scared or neutral, you know. And there are people who will speak out, you know, of course. But I mean, musically, like artistically, with your art, you know what I mean? It's like a painter saying something, but if they paint something, then it's going to say that constantly all the time.
Right. Okay. That's an interesting distinction right there. Because obviously we've got stuff like the boycotts of certain festivals now and all that kind of stuff developing, but it's not present in the art itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it needs to be a combination of both. If you're going to protest and boycott, then actually you don't need to, but you should want to, you know, express yourself in your art as well. You know, a lot of my early releases were all just basically experiences or moods that I either felt or went through or my parents went through, whether it was, you know, speaking about the slave ships that came over, you know, and the slaves who would rather jump into the ocean than be someone's property, you know, whether it was that or I don't know. I mean, struggle. I just did the simple track that people struggle. And it's simple as that. That's why it was really minimal, stripped down. And it's just a simple beat. And it just, the vocalist says that people struggle. And that's it. You know, Circus World was my take on clown ass DJs who get up there and just, you know, wave their hands and do aerobics for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and that was at the beginning because that's an old release.
Sure.
And that was at the advent of it when it was first starting to be a thing.
Yeah.
And I saw it happening and I was like, this isn't good. I was like, ooh, that ain't good.
Oh, it was going to get a lot worse from there.
Yeah. You know, and then just being creative on top of that. It doesn't always have to be dark. I took a loop because I did a set in, was it Edinburgh? And they recorded the set. And at the end of the set, the people were screaming and chanting and saying, one more tune. And they were banging on stuff and they were whistling and they made it like a little loop jam, you know?
Okay.
And I listened to that, you know, at the end of the set and I was like, that is so dope that they did that. So I took it, looped it, and then made it into a track. And that, you know, I just miss creativity where people, you know, say, okay, I've seen it and I just don't see it as much anymore. I see people do the bare minimum. I see people go over the top, you know, antics wise, as opposed to DJing. I see people who over DJ, you know, I pride myself on when I do chop and when I do things, it has to stay on beat. That's the key. I don't want people to stop and look at it and go,
yeah, right.
You know, like waiting for the beat to come back.
Yeah.
You should know if I'm chopping, the beat is still there. If you can follow it, you know, then yes. Then I know I'm like, okay, let's go, you know, but just to mess with it for messing with its sake, it has to be something artistic about it. And it has to make a point. It has to, for me, I just hear a sound and I'm like, I'm going to emphasize this sound in this song, you know, and that's where I, you know, can actually play that sound the way I want to play it.
Yeah.
And I did an example just to show people. I still do it sometimes. Like I'll play the bells, the original version of the bells. And then I'll just turn the bass down and the filter in a little bit. And I'll actually play the bells. Ding, 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 ding. So everything else is muted, even though it's still there. Yeah. I'm muting it and I'm playing the bells only. And then you can just see the people, like, they didn't think about, like, what? And most people actually think it's a different version or something, right. You know, but when you're watching it, you're like, oh, okay, all right, I get it, you know, and it has to be sharp. It has to be tight. Yeah. But that's a way to kind of show people or explain to them, you know, preface, like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is what it's about. You know, just my opinion.
Sure.
You know, But yeah, it's going back to the political aspect. Yeah, I mean, body bags. That's just my environment. I grew up with that. Like at Detroit line, we need 4,000 body bags, the sample in the song. And it changes, it changes. I met my wife and I made a song called On My Heart. You know what I mean? So it's good mood, bad mood. And she didn't know it, but I was in the studio recording her voice because she would come in and be goofy and like talk on the mic and sing, something and I kept bugging her. You need to do some vocals or sing for me a little bit for this song. No. But she would come in and goof around. So one day she came in and I was like, record. I recorded her. And then I'm working on a track and she's like, is that my voice? I was like, no, that's not it. Cause she's in her office and she could hear it. And then I finished the track and I played it and she was just like, what are you doing? Yeah. I got another song with my dog barking in it.
Okay.
Yeah. She did it and the mic was open and she barked and then I was playing it back. I didn't know. And I heard it in the back and I was like, holy crap. So I just left it. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, the art aspect of it, even if you do banging tracks or even if it's still possible to be artistic, it's still always, a possibility.
Sure.
You can still be political with your music. You can, fight for what you believe and stand up for what you believe in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, art to me is a combination of things and people have different ideas about what art is. But I think art, if it doesn't have a message, then it's not much of a thing, right?
You're wondering, like, you're trying to, okay, I see it, or I hear it, but I don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're labeling it art. So you're like, okay, where's the art? What is the art? Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I mean, I'm like that. And some people make art without knowing they're making art. Mm-hmm. It's just their nature when they make a track. And then I hear it and I'm looking around like, am I the only one who's really getting goosebumps off of this track that I'm hearing right now? Somebody's playing something. I'm like, oh, and nobody else is reacting. And I'm like, do they not hear it or feel it? Or is it just me, And I don't know. I think it's just something I have, growing up with music all my life. Yeah. When you hear that moment or you get that feeling, you just know you're like, and I also understand that when moments like that happen, I trust myself and my judgment. So it might not be time for it yet. It might be ahead of its time. A lot of Detroit is. A lot of what New Wave was doing was ahead of its time. A lot of hip hop back in the day, in the 90s, hip hop was ahead of its time. So it might be that case where you're like, okay, I get it. I'm going to let these people wait when it's right for them. That's how I used to release the vinyl. Was I didn't do a release date that much and I would just put it out.
Yeah.
And if I'm thinking it's good enough to be timeless or to last for 10, 20 years, then it doesn't matter when I put it out.
Sure.
Sooner the better when it's finished. And then when people find it, that's when they find it.
Yeah.
So there's no shelf date. There's no best buy date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, let's finish up by talking about homeless homies.
Yes. The cause, homeless homies.
I didn't realize it had been going for so long. It started in 2000.
That's the mission.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and my wife, my beautiful wife, Ann, we started Homeless Homies. And what we did is, it was an initiative because we both have been touched, in one way, shape, or form by people's condition or story when it comes to homelessness, and it's deep within both of us. And we would share our stories with each other when we first met. And then we found out, like, wow, you had that experience with somebody that you love. And I would see it all the time. And people who, were one paycheck away from being homeless. And the next thing you know, they were homeless. Mm-hmm. And it just hurt, seeing people down and out or knowing that it happened to them and it could have been prevented. So we decided that we were going to start Homeless Homies. And the initiative was originally for all the money that comes in from my music sales to go towards the initiative to Homeless Homies. And what we would do is we put in a separate account, Homeless Homies, and we would figure out initiatives on whether we donate the money to a shelter, or we would go and get a list of what they need and go buy it and bring it back. Or one time we went and just went to this grocery. Was it the GFS? Where they buy like a lot of ingredients for restaurants in bulk. And we went and just spent like a few thousand to get groceries and bring it back to the shelter. So that evolved into suggesting like, hey, she's like, we should talk to some of your friends and see if maybe they'd be down for helping out. And I'm like, I do know some people. So let me see. And the first one we did, we talked to a few people and asked them if they would donate their time and their DJ set. And it was small. It was in a clothing shop that our friend owns in Detroit. Well Done Goods, Bethany, shout out. And they were nice enough to let us use the place, and they moved the racks of clothes and items around a little bit so we could have a little space. Had a little DJ booth up top that they set up for us. And we had Derek May, we had Seth Troxler, we had myself and Josh Wink.
Nice.
And we also had Funster, Jeremy Abbott. Yeah, this is our baby boy from here from the UK.
Yeah, right.
And so we just did a day event, and to enter, you had to donate goods or money. And it was really well received, and we did really well. So from that moment, when we were in Amsterdam, we said, okay, let's do one here in Amsterdam. So we did, and the first one was really nice. It was King, D-Tron, Peggy Goo, Ben Sims, Dubfire, Karista, Spencer Parker. That was so dope.
Nice.
And the cool thing was, after the Detroit one, it was during festival weekend, during Movement. The next day we went to the festival, and first thing that happened was Dubfire came up. And he was like, how'd it go yesterday? He's like, I wanted to make it. I couldn't make it. How'd it go? I said, it was really dope. It was good. He's like, okay, here, I'm going to give you my number. I want to do the next one. Whenever you guys want to do it again, I'm down. Next thing you know, we go to say hi to a few people. We go to the other stage. We see Richie Houghton. He's like, hey, whenever you guys need me, I'm there. So it just started to snowball from there. More and more people were volunteering to help out. So fast forward, and now this year, it's snowballed because my wife likes to book as many DJs as possible in the shortest span of time. So now we have 40 DJs.
Okay.
40.
Yeah.
It's a 10-hour party. And 4 rooms, 40 DJs. And the lineup is bananas. We have Estella Boersma, Remco Beekweiler. They were the first ones. Anya Schneider, Dubfire again. We have Richie Houghton is going to do a special set. Can I say what he's going to?
Yeah, he's warming up, isn't he?
He's gonna open.
That was on the list of notes. Yeah,
he's going to open. He requested to open.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Because he thought, okay, if I open, we can help get some people in early. Shout out to Richie. He's always been a good guy to me. Yeah. We have a really dope lineup. Nicole Moodymann is joined. We have some of the DJs from New York. We have Isaac Carter from London coming. We have Daya from New York coming. You name it. D-Tron, sound like Detroit, is going to be there. Yeah, I'm excited, man. We have LB, aka Labat. LB Labat. Who else am I missing? That's a good. Oh yeah, Elliot Akula is going to be there. Shalene. We have.
And this is October the 24th.
Yeah, October 24th.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just so happened that since it's 4 rooms, and when we were working the lineup, we noticed that one of the rooms is basically all female. We're like, okay, that's nice. A room with Shalene and Eliakila, like I said, we have High. Yeah. I'm just excited and thankful that people will actually donate their time to help us out. Yeah. So all the money we raise, we don't even take a cut of anything. So all the money we raise goes to the foundation.
Nice.
Awesome. So we've been able to fund arts program for like a few years in Amsterdam for the Rake and Bowl group. We've been able to buy new beds for this other sleep shelter. So it helps, and they're appreciative, and the homies come out. A lot of people who work at the shelters, a lot of people who utilize the shelters come out. They're always welcome to come hang out.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, it's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm excited. October 24th, tickets are going fast.
Yeah.
So we're happy. There's still some left, but the closer it gets, the higher the price. So
there you go.
You better get them.
That's it.
You better get them.
Cool. Well, listen, man. So good to have you back on.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I like to be able to speak freely and, tell some stories.
You're good at it, man. You're very good at it.
Uncle Moan out now.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, thank you so much, mate.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
Music, not diving, with Scuba.